Hello everyone, I'm Fallout 4 guy and welcome to part 2 of the behind the scenes for my surviving the seasons build, or winter survival home, or whatever I've probably called it in other things, but in the video it's called surviving the seasons. And if you haven't seen part 1, links in the description, but more important, if you haven't seen this actual video tour for this build, the original tour, that link is also in the description, and watch that first. If you come in here from part 1, then I'm pretty much picking up right where I left off, which was talking about the tree house, and I'm ready to go inside now. I think we've talked about everything outside already, so yeah, if you just come into the video now and you want to know about the outside part of the build, then obviously watch it in order, part 1 first. Okay, inside, right. Where do I start with this? Okay, well, people often ask me about decor and how do I make a build look lived in and, you know, the right amount of clutter and so on. And yeah, I get asked this a lot, and I never really know how to answer this because it's one of these things where I don't find decorating that difficult. It's just kind of, I find it just a natural thing, and I think part of it has to do with imagination. You know, I'm quite imaginative, and I can kind of see a room in my mind. I can kind of see roughly how I want it to look before I've even built it. Not saying that stuff doesn't evolve as a build. It does, most certainly things evolve as a build, but having the rough idea of knowing what you want it to look like beforehand, and having a theme, you know, having a character or something in your head that, you know, this person, you know, are they a messy person, are they a neat person? Having a kind of idea of that can help then do the decor. But in this particular case, I knew, you know, like that he was going to be like a hunter type thing, so there's going to be certain things that kind of point to that. There's certain things that I do to create like lived in and realistic and you know, like kind of themed set pieces, I should say, like so like this little reading area, for example. The Commonwealth, you know, it's a wasteland. It's like, it's post-apocalypse, man. There's no TV and stuff, you know, there's not much entertainment, so I figured like reading would be something, you know, having a little reading area would be something to do. And so to create this, like, it's just the books from USO. Although when you get them in USO, they're all like tilted vertically. They're like, yeah, they're for shelf stacking basically. So I've put them horizontally just so I can make them, like, you know, pile them up and stuff, and or tilt them on the side. Stupid paper. So yeah, so like just things like that. Just again, it just makes it look a little bit more, you know, believable, really. So yeah, so by creating like these little kind of set pieces, sometimes that really does, you know, make a bigger picture then. Another example, the fireplace. You know, we're constantly told in Fallout that, you know, pre-war money is, you know, it's useless. It's all about the caps and stuff now. So having the piles of pre-war money next to the fire for the kindling, you know, just to throw it on there, keep the fire going. Yeah, little things like that. I just think it adds a little bit to the lore of the game. It makes it look more believable. The yeah, the cooking pot with the ladle in, like I could have maybe not had the ladle in there, for example. Tiny little detail, but you know, now something's cooking, so you can kind of see that. This paper's from CVA, by the way. It's from the debris section, but it has a really big hit box, so when you aim at it, look, see, I can click on stuff now, but whenever the paper's in the shot, I can't click on that. The rest of the decor on the fireplace, you can kind of see what I've used fire, and I've used some debris of this, and from CVA as well, to kind of add a bit of dust and planks and crap in the back of the fire. Mantelpiece is just planks. The kind of ornaments on there, just stuff I've made out of like a sword, and then the little brackets, if I can ever click those, they're just planks again from CVA. I love CVA, made by Tim Timman, maker of QwaPA, the greatest mod ever made for PS4 could not do pretty much 90% of this stuff without QwaPA. And then, you know, like the things like this life preserver, this is a good example of how to make something look lived in my opinion, because there's two reasons why I would put something like that there. One main one is the obvious colour contrast. That wall's very brown and bland without the bits of colour I've added, so that gives you a nice contrast. With, you know, yeah, without it, it doesn't look bad, but with it, just this, it brightens the place up, and it's a very wooden theme, so you know you need like splashes of colour to kind of catch the eye. And then, but the lived in part comes from the kind of, you get an idea of the humour, sense of humour of the guy that lives here. Maybe the fact that he kind of just, you know, it's just a kind of fun thing to do, to put that over its head. So he's got a bit of a sense of humour with it, and I think that kind of creates again the just a feeling of someone actually lives here, rather than it's just a bunch of stuff. The item placement, you know, like the cup next to the typewriter and the ashtray next to it kind of makes sense. The keys next to the door again makes sense. When you come in, you put your keys down. So when I put things down, you know, these aren't pre-decorated stuff. I've placed everything. There's like, you know, there's kind of logic behind. You can just randomly place shit and it'll look okay. Like, but sometimes if you actually have some thought behind why something would be there. So another example. So yeah, so the lit cigar naturally would have a lighter next to it, you know, it kind of, it's obvious really, but the empty sardine tray or whatever that is being used, you know, that's not a mod, it's just a normal item that I've just dropped and made static with QwaPA for the ashtray. I've got an ashtray there, so I didn't want to have another ashtray, just mix things up a bit. Hello boy. So yeah, so anyway, I've kind of gone off a little bit, but basically yeah, the short answer is I don't actually know how to tell you how to make things look lived in, other than to kind of just put yourself in the place that you are and just think kind of what this person would be like, and try and make interesting set pieces. Try and, you know, like when I build a build now, because I'm a YouTuber and because obviously, you know, I make videos to share with you guys, I'm constantly thinking about what the viewer sees and how a shot is framed. So like with something like this, when you walk in the door, it's an open plan building, so you don't want to get too hit in the face with all the stuff, just clutter everywhere. Like, yeah, you could have like just, you know, everywhere's got clutter, and it's just, sometimes it's just too much. You know, it's okay if it's like, if the camera's being panned and you've got set rooms and stuff, that's fine. But when you've got a room, particularly like this one, which is all open, you need to have enough set pieces to make it look believable, but not so much that it looks ridiculous, that you've just put every goddamn mod under the sun in one shot. And this is something that I see a lot actually happen with the people's builds, that, like, you know, clutter is not always good. Having too much can be actually detrimental, I think. And I think I tend to, well, from what I hear from the feedback, I think I tend to get it right, the right balance, you know, not too much, not too little. And yeah, so like I'll build with that in mind. So I'll come in, I think, right, I need a set piece, and then filler. And that's what I've gone for. So the fireplace, obviously a set piece, the little staircase in there is a set piece, and that's incorporated in the actual build as well. This structure is the part of the clutter, part of the design, the decor, and then, you know, then the rest is just kind of like filling stuff out. I think I had a full wall here at one point. I didn't have a window, and it didn't look interesting because there was just a wall. So then I swapped the wall out for a window. I've talked about the building section in part one, but just while I'm on the inside, I feel like this might deserve another talk about the building. So the outside is feathered and layered with boards, and the inside is also no exception. So there's almost two skins to the in and the out, rather than just have like I can't probably click it now. rather than just have like the inner walls looking like this, which is pretty much what everyone's walls are going to look like if you just use the standard kind of Bethesda wall pieces. Mine look more detailed because of all the layers on the inside as well. All these planks, now you can start to see, if I remove them, what's under those pieces. They're just the set walls. Now you might want to go for that look. Sometimes you might want it to look bare and empty and very basic, but I wanted this to look very sturdy and solid. The more thickness I had to the walls and the ceilings and stuff, the better. Like this little bulkhead over the top bit is the, you know, the Portaloo outhouse seat things. That adds the thickness. Then the ceiling, I could have just had the original floor pieces, which is the ones you can see there now, but I thickened it out with more planks just to kind of, again, make it look more sturdy, more solid. The beams used, you know, probably could have left it there, wouldn't have really hurt it too much, but again, now it looks solid. The beams inside, every support used goes towards just the strength and the integrity of the building. Makes it look a little bit more, you know, they're everywhere. Look, again, stuff you don't notice, but you do. You just don't notice it like straight away. So yeah, so the inside of the building definitely helps as well. You know, that's kind of decor in a way, or kind of lived in a way, because it just makes everything look more believable. And the dog's open the window. The glass is just greenhouse doors. So yeah, so anyway, back to the clutter and the decor. Another thing I do which makes stuff look more believable, in my opinion, is the custom objects that I make. So yeah, so I can't have external assets on PS4. I think most people know that now. So I'll often see mods on PC especially. I think, oh man, that is awesome, I wish I had that. So I have to make my own, and I think this goes a long way, I think, to kind of making something look lived in and more unique. This wood burner, which I'm looking at now, is one of the things I made that I saw this elsewhere on I didn't see this, but I've seen wood burners on mods, a bit more basic than this actually. This is actually a bit more advanced than the ones I'd seen before, but I always liked the idea of having one, and yeah, even though this could definitely be added to PS4, it could do, because it's all using existing assets. Yeah, there's just not that many mods like this on PS4. So anyway, what I wanted to do was make one of these, and all it is just a barrel flipped over, the one with the embers, you know, inside, and then the door part is a Super Mutant chess piece. It took me ages to find find a door. Well, I say ages. It took me about half an hour, and this is like something that I do a lot of. You know, I build a lot of my own objects, so I'm quite good at this. I know the objects that I've got access to kind of by heart. Yeah, so I'll look at something and I instantly know what will fit there and what won't fit there. But I was really stumped for a while about what I could use for this door. I was thinking, I need a grill for that grate, something that looks like it can open. And yeah, it stumped me for ages. And then of course, you know, come to the Super Mutant armor, and I was like, finally, it looks like it will just fit. Can't rescale on PS4. I've said this time and time again. You know, it's the one feature that would save me a lot of trouble, and this is one of the reasons why rescaling would help. If I could just sunk that a little bit, tiny bit smaller, it probably would have hidden the you know, the arm, shoulder pieces. Although sometimes you have what I'll do is I'll find the object I want, it doesn't fit, and then I have to kind of come up with ways to make that little bit sticking out work. And in this case, I'm really glad that it didn't work, because I like the little utensil section I made there, the little tongs in them. So yeah, so there's that, and then the top hot plate part is another Super Mutant piece. I just thought while I was in there, I might as well look what else there is, and that was perfect. That looked like it was, you know, kind of nice and thick piece of like iron that would you put on top to heat your stuff up, heating the iron up, heating the kettle up. And it's got a little bit of cut out in there, look, which I thought was kind of meant to be for my bucket to slot in. So yeah, these things just build themselves after a while. They're just like, oh, okay, that fits that, that fits that. And then the handle is a reinforced dog collar of all things. But I liked the little bit of tape that it got on that, so I thought it was perfect because it got that kind of like that heat absorption thing on there. And then the legs are the only thing that actually are like kind of clipping through the back, and the legs are a bench, which I can't. Yeah, there you go. But I really like the shape of the legs, and it just looked like the kind of thing that would be on something like this. So they're like clipping through the wall, and there's a water purifier behind it, hiding that. And then because of the bench, there's a piece that comes off it there, which looks like a kind of support for the table, which is just a metal panel. And yeah, and then you've got like this roof pipe thing, but nothing special there. And that's just a bucket. I didn't like the finish of that on its own, going through the roof. I didn't like it. I thought that looked better. So that was it. So that, yeah, these kind of things, you know, they do go towards, you know, making a more lived-in look. There's actually 2 barrels in there, by the way, as well. You see that the reason why you can get away with that look is because the other barrel, which I can't click on, there's a normal barrel that's sunk inside, and then there's the ember one slightly sticking on top, just enough to poke through into the chest armor to give that effect, and then it covers the side bits up with the other barrel. So yeah, 2 barrels. I should have mentioned that at the start. And then the cooker, similar thing. I've just kind of made a new one, really. A new stand, which is in German, because that's a mod called PS4 Skylines. It's in German. It's like annoying because even though this particular part is, I think it's from USO, there must be a version of it in there as well. It just changes the name to German. But yeah, so that's that. And then there's the door is a dryer that I've just. It was the only door that fit in there. It looked like it could have been an oven door. So yeah, so that's that. And then the other thing that, like, while we're here, the fridge. You know, these little things. Sometimes I just get an idea, and I think, oh, what the hell? Why? You know, this is actually quite late in the build, and I was going to have this little meat area outside where, you know, he kind of was storing his meat, but I just thought, oh, you know, that could just get robbed easy. Someone would steal that, or animals would come and eat that, or something. And then I was just like, oh man, you're so stupid. Why didn't you have a goddamn fridge full of snow? And yeah, it was just one of those moments where I was like, I'm so like glad that I thought of this, because I love this. And the snow itself is just the usual, you know, effect that I've done outside, but I've packed them in a bit tighter, and they're just the pillows. But because I've packed them tight and I've kind of tilted some of them a little bit and get different angles, I think the snow looks really, really effective in there. It blends quite well. And then I've just kind of tilted, you know, normal objects like meat and the rears and stuff, just tilted them, made them static with QwaPA, and then just sunk them in. Very, very simple. Some of the best ideas are so simple. And yeah, and I wanted this little room to be like an outhouse kind of utility type room, so there's like a back door, and so it's not, so it's purposely kind of like drafty looking. I've left holes and things on purpose, but just for that reason really. And then I've got this little kind of snow trail that maybe nobody noticed. I don't know if you did or not, but yeah, it's just the pillars again sunk in, so you got like a snow trail coming through, and then a little shovel and a bucket. Maybe it looks like it, you know, was kind of digging up the snow outside and then throwing it in the thing. You know, like, again, I'm still talking on the lived-in subject here, so this all kind of adds up. Making a little story out of your set piece helps to add. It's not just about clutter, you know. Like, this whole thing, if you look at it, it does tell a story. What's happened here, you can kind of see it. What's hanging up, you know, it tells a story. Like, yeah, so that does help. And just mentioning that, like, clutter, like saying it's not all about clutter, like you can have pre-decorated clutter in your build. Like I don't always use it, but I have used it, like in this circumstance, for example. That's predefined clutter. Like pre-done clutter, if used or like correctly, can look fine. But I think sometimes the reason why people might think, oh, you know, like, why doesn't mine look lived in? I've got loads of clutter everywhere. This is like something that kind of like, I don't want to offend anybody that uses pre-done clutter, because I know that people like it for whatever reason. It's easy and stuff to use, but you've got to be careful that it doesn't look too familiar. I don't have it, the amount of pre-decorated clutter that Xbox has and that PC certainly has, but I recognise it because I've seen it in so many builds. So even though I haven't got what the fuck is it, do it yourself or whatever it's called, even though that isn't available on PS4, I can recognise that mod now because I've seen it in so many people's builds, and to me that breaks like any kind of lived-in look that you were going to get if you use just loads of pre-done clutter. Where you can get away with it, or where I tend to try and get away with it, is this kitchen has got custom objects in there that nobody will have seen before because I made them, so I know no one's going to see them. And then I've got pre-decorated clutter above it. So your eyes kind of draw down to the thing that you don't recognise, and they kind of dismiss the thing you may recognise, and that is probably the best way that I use it. Custom made object, pre-done clutter. You see, so like maybe you don't look at that, maybe you don't notice it. You'll notice it, but it's not the thing that's grabbing your attention. Or I'll mix like pre-done clutter. So that's a pre-decorated clutter item, but I've mixed it with some cans and in a basket, so it looks a bit different. You don't necessarily look at it and think, oh, what's that from? And that's something that, like, I think, you know, if people kind of try to do that more, you will get a more unique looking build. Again, you know, pre-done shelves with all the stuff all just like all lined up, and it all just looks so bleh. Nah, not my thing. Again, no offense to people that use it, it's fine. If it works for you, it works for you, but it doesn't work for me. I think it would take the life and the charm out of what people enjoy about my builds. They always kind of, I get lots of praise about how, you know, unique and interesting they are, and I think that is one of the reasons why, because I don't use much pre-done stuff. It's always new. So okay, upstairs. So this little attic area, it's not much of an upstairs, you know. I wanted a upper floor, well, for two reasons. Obviously, it gives me more space to work with. So that's always good because it's quite a small build. But I also wanted windows on the upstairs because it looks nicer from a structural point of view. So when you're looking outside, you've got windows on the upper floor. So of course, if you've got windows upstairs, you need to have an upstairs. So this is just enough height that I can stand here, but I can't walk around. I can reach my bed to click on it to sleep, and I can jump over here and walk onto this area, but I can't just run around because it's obviously meant to look like an attic, and Fallout 4's collision detection is kind of stupid. So so even though like I'm easily underneath the height of it, it won't let me get past certain stuff, so I'm kind of stuck there. That's it. So so this area is well, it's kind of a product of like just trying to work with the space that I've got, really. I wanted like a little storage area, so that was where that came from. Again, this is just predefined stuff that I've kind of used, mixed in with my own decor to make it look a little bit different, but it's not a focal point. You don't really look at it too much. And there's another example. So that's pre-done, pre-decorated stuff, but it's inside a flipped over cabinet, so you don't really look at that because you're looking at this, which is obviously I've decorated that bit, so you look at that and think, oh, that's okay, it's got a little thing there. But yeah, the pre-done stuff is there just to fill it out. Yeah, so the bed is just a military cot. That's from Is that from, that's either from USO, I don't think it's from USO, it might be from USO. If it's not from USO, it's from Akiras Clutter, one of them. And I've just put a sleeping bag on top of that, nothing special. But the dormer window, which I mentioned in part one, this is the kind of the game changer for me up here. So this wasn't here originally. I finished the build, pretty much finished the structure, I should say, not the build. I finished the structure, and I'd got snow all over the roof and stuff, and it didn't look very interesting, it looked boring. And the same could be said for up here. It looked boring. It didn't look like what I was trying to go for, an attic, you know, so it didn't look like an attic that much. And the dormer window really changes how it looks inside. And in, I don't know about other countries, but in England, especially like Victorian houses, they all have these dormer windows, and they're really kind of like, I just think they're really beautiful. Like, and so to make a dormer window, it's just about kind of getting the thickness and the dimensions really. So there's three layers of roofing in here. In fact, I will just mention that as well. So the ceiling is another layer of roofing, because you've got the top one, and then you've got the snow effect, and then of course you can see the snow, as you can see there. So then there's another set of roofing going over the top of that. So I think each roof is like six panels on that side, 4 on this side, so that's 12 on that side. So yeah, so like it's double the roofing, and then the detailing, the logs and stuff to kind of give the thickness. But in the case of the dormer window, there's 3 on purpose, because they have like this thick beaming, and it just looked a bit better with 3 basically, to give it kind of the strength looking where the roof is obviously divided. And then I've made the glass bit out of again the greenhouse doors, same as downstairs, to keep the kind of the window frames looking similar, like the match. And then there's just some paneling to kind of hide the fact it's a door. And then you got a windowsill, and then the rest of it's just planks to fill the gaps. You got another double roofing part with these floor pieces, warehouse floor pieces. And yeah, and I wanted to have light looking like it's bleeding out. There's no nighttime tour in the actual original video tour. I didn't do any nighttime ones, but there's this photograph, so I did it for the photos to have the light kind of bleeding out onto the snow outside the window. Again, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you may have seen that picture, and it's a cool effect, and that's why I kind of did the candles and the bottle lantern thing, just to give it that effect, so it looked cool. And yeah, so I actually really think, you know, as much, even my girlfriend, when I said in part one that, like, when I ripped the roof down, I was like, I'm going to build this dormer thing, she was like, oh my god, you know, like, why do you keep doing this to yourself, like making more and more work? But even she said afterwards, like, she was like, oh man, yeah, I can see why you do it now, because like most people would just be happy with that original thing, and you're like, nope, it can be better, and you end up, you know, putting more work in, but you get this nice effect, and it's worth it, you know. The thing looks more like what I had in my imagination now. It looks like an attic. I left this little hole here on purpose for, well, you know, A, for like it's interesting, and B, because I figured that like the heat from the fire would come up through this hole and help heat the upstairs by having it open. So I'll just put this little net for, you know, safety things, so stuff, not safety so you don't fall, but safety so that, you know, shit doesn't fall down. But yeah, I think there's not that much to talk about up here. These little cloth things, I just put this here because that window, I wanted it to look like it's kind of broken, there's a bit of draft coming through, so just put like a barricade up on it. That's from Akiras Clutter, I think, those cloths. Oh, it might be from Toys Out of the Pram, actually. I think he's got a section that's got cloth and awnings in. He's got another mod that I've got, aside from my requested one, it's called something requested. Again, it'll be in the description, the proper name for it, but it's other people's requesting it. I think it might be in that, but it might not. I think it's probably from Akiras, to be honest, but I don't know. All my mods used are in here, so if you, in the description, so if you had all my mods, you'd have all these objects. What the hell? It's like my real dog. My real dog sits in the most retarded places. Same as dog meat. Dog meat, I mentioned dog meat because I wanted a dog by the fire. Like, that was just something that I think it needed, a dog by the fire. And I tried the junkyard dog that you get from USO. And he's too fat, he just didn't. And plus, well, they just kept walking around. You can't assign stuff either on PS4 if you build using Build Anywhere, which is what this build is. You can't assign settlers or anything to like the animation rugs. You have to be in a settlement to do that. So I knew I couldn't do it that way, and then I just got dog meat in the end and just told him to stay. And for the most part, he does stay. But if you bump him, he moves around. He sits in the most stupid position. So anyway, for the video, I just took ages to try and get him to sit in a position I want him to sit in and stay there. And yeah, it just, I'm not joking, I spent about an hour messing around with dog meat trying to make him stay in that position. What else? I think that's it, you know. I don't even know if I've missed anything out, but I tend to find like these behind the scenes videos, I always like kind of try and include and talk about as much as I can, but then I tend to feel like I'm boring everybody, like I'm talking about stuff that's not important. But I think I've covered most, like, you know, of what you might want to look at, I think. Is there anything I've missed? No, I don't know. If you can hear that moving around, it's my dog, my real dog. He's lying on his bed and he just like keeps getting up. What I will probably mention, just like a little bit of a process I go through with every build. So when I get to a spot, oh, in fact, let me just show you where this is as well, just in case you're interested on where this actual place is located. So it's a build anywhere, like I said, and we're on the edge of the map. You've got the Poseidon Reservoir there. You've got like Pines Motel, and we're just here by this little pond. And the reason why I picked this spot, I took about an hour or 2 hours walking around trying to find the right spot for it. I wanted something that was very kind of remote, obviously somewhere that a kind of cabin like this could exist without having like loads of defence and stuff around it, because again, I didn't want that kind of build where it's all fortified and stuff. So remote was key, you know, not many people come out here. And also wanted it to be very picturesque. And when I do pick these kind of spots, one of the things I do when I get here, I walk around it, and I know roughly, I've got an idea of what I want to include. So I knew I wanted like a little fishing spot, so water was important. And I'll try and look, and I'll just, you know, pan the camera really and try and see where the best place to start placing stuff is. And I didn't want to show any of the stuff in the background there, notably like that little highway, because there's no snow on it. Again, the limitations of the mod. So yeah, I didn't want to ever show that. I think there's one time where I might just about pan that for a second, but other than that, everything's kind of like focused up there. So that's why I built the house where I did, so I could get this same shot and get my fishing trap thingy, fishing spot in there, and you know, there was nothing in the background you could see. And so yeah, so I'll walk around and I'll look at that, and I'll kind of, so even where I pick, you know, where I actually build the footprint of my, where I start building is kind of like planned out, and kind of like, you know, thought about in terms of like how it's going to look in a photo or a video tour. But yeah, so that's kind of like it, I think. Please let me know in the comments. Obviously, most of you know I do try and reply to everyone, so if you ask me a question about anything I've missed, I will try and reply. I don't mean to ignore anyone if I do, but sometimes I get sidetracked and I get to reply everyone straight away. But at some point I will try and reply to you. And yeah, if you ask me about mods and stuff and load orders and things, I'm not the best person. I don't actually go into what mods work with other mods and what load orders best. I've got to be honest, I've kind of fluked mine, I think, because mine just works. So yeah, I'm not an expert on that. I'll try and help you if you say, look, I've got this mod and you told me to download this mod but it doesn't work. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not that up on. What I specialize in, as you can see, is more to do with like, creativity stuff. I'm not a modder. I don't know shit about mods, to be honest. I use about 13 or 14 mods roughly on all my builds. I have the same mods, so my mods have worked from when I first got them years ago, and I'll add one or two occasionally if need be, like for example Simple Seasons White Winter, like first time I've ever used it, probably will never use it again. So like so if I do have any trouble with my mods, it's because I've added just that one and I think, oh well, that's obviously something wrong with that. But the rest of my mods I don't touch. So yeah, other than that stuff, ask me anything. But yeah, load order stuff, don't know. And yeah, and one other thing I will just say before I go, because I think this is something I do with every build and always get people asking, well, I get the naysayers going there they don't believe it's on PS4. I know you could see it was on PS4 now because you saw my controls on the workshop thing. But yeah, I do get a lot of people who don't believe it, and one of the reasons they go, oh, your frame rate must be shit if you're on PS4. Yeah, great build, bro, but your frame rate, I bet it's tanked. And they seem to like enjoy the fact that like you're a PS4 peasant, and that like you built something that their PC would piss all over it because your frame rate's wank. Well, yeah, this is something I kind of like. I take a lot of time and getting my frame rate smooth, and I will show you like right now that like it's not camera tricks in the video. My frame rate is, this is probably gonna make you all feel sick. There's no lag or nothing. I've got a lot of objects. I've got like 600 fucking towels and shit, and I am on PS4, but there's a reason why I work at getting it smooth, and I take a lot of time and put a lot of effort into kind of planning my builds out and how much the camera is going to be looking at, and how much I'm kind of trying to squeeze out of it. And I don't build. I'm not one of these people that builds something and then I get so big I'm like, oh shit. Well, I've built all this now, and now it's all fucked up because the frame rate's juddering and stuff. I never get to that stage because I know what my system can do. So I won't pick a build. I won't pick a spot that a build is too big for. Yeah, I'm not going to like go and try to build a city right in the middle of like right next to Diamond City. That's kind of stupid because that's not going to work, is it? Like I'm building downtown Boston, like a whole goddamn city. I'll pick somewhere out in the sticks that hasn't got much other stuff to render. So yeah, so this is obviously not necessarily related directly to this build, but this goes for all builds. If you're picking a spot and you know what you're going to build ahead of time, your spot that you pick, your location should straight away be able to cope with what you're planning to build. Don't build a city in the most congested place. It's going to tank your frame rate. And I get that a lot. So people seem to like enjoy it, especially like on Facebook and Reddit. Oh, your frame rate's going to be shit, you PS4 peasant. Well, no, mate, it's not shit because I know what the fuck I'm doing. That's why. But yeah, you do get that. So anyway, like I just like to show people occasionally that like even though I do slow pans so it doesn't look like garbage on the tour, I can zip around it. It's nice and smooth, and it is on PS4, so it's not it's not the worst thing in the world. You PC master race people, we can do things on console too. Anyway, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and any questions please do not hesitate to ask. Thank you for everyone that's watched the video this far. I know that I do talk on and on and on, but apparently you guys love this shit. You love this behind the scenes stuff. So I make these things because people ask, and the time I don't post one, if it's been a few weeks after where's the behind the scenes, bro? So yeah, I do post these, but yeah, this is the closest you're ever gonna get from me as a tutorial from a point of view, because I don't do tutorials, and I never will. So don't ask me that. Just because my build style is not fitting to tutorials. I don't snap objects together ever. I've never snapped objects for the last 2 years or so. It's not fun to watch. Trust me, you don't want a tutorial. And but yeah, anyway, right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.